What's up, Undertoads? This is Derek from Classic Game Room. You know, for a long time, this was the standard, right? When it comes to controlling 3D video games, the Sony DualShock. It's always been the way to go, right? All the way back to the original PlayStation. But you know, now there's an alternative. You know, now we have this. And this gen, it's really been split. Are you a PS3 guy, are you a PlayStation dude, or are you an Xbox guy? And the controllers are part of that. I mean, they're very different. And I think that poses a problem. I mean, what if you're a Sony guy, but, you know, maybe you like this controller, maybe you prefer those thumbsticks. What do you do? Well, that's where this comes in. Through the miracle of science and cloning, we have this. Actually, it was just manufactured. Very little science was involved. And this is the SC1 wireless sports controller for the PlayStation 3. And you know, as you can see, it really is a mixture of the two controllers. It's got sort of the placement and the analog sticks and the buttons and the D-pad of the Xbox controller, right? But it's kind of got the shape of the DualShock, as well as the games. It is a PlayStation controller. So it's really combining the best of both worlds into one controller that comes in a slick red color. So let's give this thing a look. Again, the button placement, the D-pad and analog stick placement, very similar to the Xbox 360 controller. And actually the triggers and the shoulder buttons are actually very similar as well. And to really drive home the comparison between the Xbox controller and the SC1, they have almost an identical analog stick. As you can see, both concave as opposed to the DualShock, which is convex. And they both have the characteristic 4 little dots, so characteristic of the Xbox controller that you can feel when you're playing, well, until they wear out, like these ones have. But yeah, a classic Xboxism brought to the PlayStation. In terms of the aesthetic design, I really like the color scheme. It's got the black with the bright red, very crimson red, as well as the like slate gray. Very nice color scheme. And again, it's not, it doesn't have the same finish that the other controllers have. They're sort of hard plastic and shiny. This is, I don't know the word for it. It's like the soft plastic, almost rubbery. We'll call it magic soft plastic. It's made from MSP. But there are actually a lot of other things I like about this, particularly the setup. It was really easy to get started. It comes with this little wireless dongle. You plug it into the front of your PS3, the USB slot. You press home and it syncs right up. It was literally a matter of seconds before we had this thing up and running, playing games on our PS3. And I also really like the analog sticks. They're actually a lot tighter than the Xbox analog sticks, and certainly a lot tighter than the DualShocks, which are very, very loose and very sort of soft, easy to move. These ones sort of snap right back into place, which I actually prefer. But it also has its drawbacks. One, you might not like the color scheme. It doesn't look as sort of elegant as a lot of the stock controllers, which are sort of one color scheme and match the design of the console. This definitely has that third-party look, which I know isn't for everyone. And another thing I don't like is the D-pad. This is a pretty abysmal D-pad. And as an old school gamer, that's something that I really pay attention to. As you can see, it's very loose. Even way more loose than even the Xbox D-pad. As you can see, I can move this, but not as much as I can move this, and that's not good. And I also don't like the shoulder buttons, not the triggers, but these ones. They're sort of awkward to reach. You know, another interesting issue pertains to the face buttons. They're actually a little bit further apart. I don't know if you can really tell, but they're smaller, and there's actually a larger gap between the buttons on this controller than with the DualShock. So with the DualShock, where they're all sort of closer to your thumb and it's easy to move between them, it's actually a bit further on this one. I know they call it a sports controller, but all it really is an alternate PS3 controller. In terms of sports-specific features, I guess, you know, maybe the turbo button is kind of useful for sports. There are also 2 function buttons that you can program, but other than that, I mean, it's not really a sports. It's just another controller. I mean, it's not like Gatorade comes out of the home button or anything. So So what's the verdict? Well, I gotta tell you, I like the design, I like the no-slip rubber, I guess. I really like the analog sticks, the tightness. But really, it really depends on your taste and your preference. If you like the 360 controller more than the DualShock, you're gonna love this, and you're gonna love using it on your PS3. But if you're a DualShock guy, which if you're a PlayStation fan, you're probably a DualShock guy, yeah, this isn't gonna do it for you. But, you know, if you want tighter analog sticks that are offset, and you like the color red, I mean, here it is. It's the SC1 wireless sports controller. Now, I'm not a big fan of third-party controllers, but this one's actually pretty good.